So, what happens when we truly let go? Such as Milo right now letting go of the fact that I just recorded this whole video. It was rather long and it was rather good if I say so myself, and then I realized I forgot to click the record button. How do we let go of the tension that arises? The sense of that shouldn't have happened. I should have checked. That's a silly mistake to make. Maybe some shame, maybe some shoulds, but ultimately a pushing at what is. Like, that should not have been. This moment should not have to do this, right? And I've been playing with this in my system, and something is really opening lately where I noticed that out of a sense of laziness, honestly, there's like a letting go of that struggle to manage. Something has noticed that the energy that goes into the thought that this is not good enough, it should be different, is exhausting. It takes literal energy to entertain the thought that what is shouldn't be. Do you feel that, like how you are in total opposition with reality? And if you want to fight reality, well, be my guest. That's one sure way to just totally exhaust yourself. And so I feel like I'm reaching a state of equanimity almost undeservedly because I'm not putting in some new Herculean effort and finding a new way to finally overcome my resistances and my habits. It's surprisingly enough, I'm going the exact opposite way. I'm just relaxing, feeling that I don't want to struggle in this way anymore. And it's appears almost like a choice, and yet who's here to make that choice, right? Like that choice only appeared to me now. I don't think it was accessible before. And now that I see the option of engaging, giving attention and focus to the manager parts that arise from a sense of lack, fear, needing, longing, most importantly, resistance to what is, it feels like a stepping away from me, stepping away from the moment of now in which actually it is fine. And I feel like I'm getting more intimate with my parts because the resistance is not there. So whereas before there's pushing and pulling, and even amidst the push and pull, there's an even subtler pushing away from the whole pushing that's going on, right? It's sort of like amidst a conflict with a loved one, you're not only pushing at each other, there's something that kind of doesn't even want to be there fully because it's so uncomfortable to be in that space of tension. And here it's like that tension, if that's what's present, it's totally welcome. It's totally allowed to be here. And this becomes very simple because there's actually nowhere else to be. The whole idea of there being somewhere to get to is now seen as being the whole source, the whole root of all of the suffering in the first place. It's like I'm not happy where I am because if I'm in a good place, there's a subtle clinging to that. So there's almost like a rejection of the present moment, no matter how good it is, because it is frail. It is, it's fragile. So there's something that is afraid that I might lose this, right? Like I'm feeling really good right now. I want this feeling to stay. And that is not much different from being in a place of deep suffering where that struggle is, well, definitely less subtle, but nevertheless, it's that struggle of wanting to be somewhere else. So I feel bad, I want to be somewhere else. I feel good. I still subtly want to be somewhere else where I don't have to be afraid of this feeling going away, right? Wouldn't that be even better? If I'm out on a walk and it's a beautiful sunny day, wouldn't it be even better if I knew for sure, having checked the weather app, that the sun is gonna stay out so I don't have to worry about it raining 5 minutes from now, you know? That's a poor analogy, but hopefully it hits home. And what I'm finding is a deep relaxation because suddenly there's an okayness. with the way that things play out. I don't have to manage because I don't know what is up or what is down. That value judgment of what would be better, what would be worse, there's some distance from it now. It can still appear. It's not that I lost my mind, I don't understand, or that this character seemingly, it's kind of difficult to talk about. It's not that if you would ask me, would you like to put your hand in boiling hot water or in a cool, nice, bowl, then of course it's not that it's whatever. There's still intelligence orchestrating all of this, and there's still some sort of like a preference, but there's nobody here, there's no manager that is grasping on really hard to the steering wheel, thinking it knows best where to go. It's more like a letting go of the tiller of your boat and just letting the river take your boat, trusting that the boat and the river won't lead you astray. You won't end up with your hand in the boiling pot. And when that can be trusted, I think that that's even the mechanism why this choice seemingly was not here before, is likely, if I do engage my thinking parts that try to conceptualize this and then put a framework around this, it's likely because the trust was not there. It just sounds wild. How can I let go of the tiller or of the steering wheel? We're gonna die. And something has learned, both by the glimpses of hope and trust and kind of successful attempts of just, letting go of the steering wheel just for a moment and then noticing that the car kind of drives itself, and it's like, whoa, okay, maybe I'll try that again sometime for a little bit longer and then a little bit longer. But I have to tell you, I think most importantly, it happened by the means of failing so many times when I'm at the steering wheel thinking that I know we should go left, and then either successfully going left, but that turning out to be a horrible decision, it's a total dead end, or me trying to go left and not even being able to properly steer that car. And so that is also understood from this place. It's a fun thought, because suddenly in this new light of this understanding, what's seen is that, well, of course, that sometimes you just couldn't even turn the car. Sometimes you went into a dead end because it was the river all along. And as you were trying to correct the river, it ended up in ways that were still not wrong, because there are no mistakes. Because ultimately, if we agree on that, for the sake of argument, even that's not your experience, that a river is directing this entire show, there are no mistakes. The river makes no mistakes. But those dead ends were just gentle ways for you to notice that, hey, you're struggling, man. You're struggling. You don't have to. Just let go. And then those moments when you really weren't supposed to make that left turn, because that just wasn't supposed to happen, and you couldn't, and you blamed yourself that like you're a terrible driver and you haven't got this and you should know how to make a left turn, but it just wasn't meant to. Like, you were supposed to go right for whatever reason. So you were always held. This was always happening in this way. And now, seemingly, there's just more recognition of it. And with that recognition, there's more trust that nothing needs to happen because it is happening in the way that it's supposed to. So with that comes a spacious, loving, letting go and surrender into what is unfolding. And with that, a collapse of the discernment that takes so much energy, of me having to be the one who knows which way is which way is better or worse. And now it's like having this AI, like an autopilot that I can completely trust. And I can just say, take me there. Or heck, I don't even have to say, take me anywhere. Because suddenly there's like nowhere to get to. There's just, I am eternally at peace now. And yet, in that relative, I can still set, we can play with that whole law of attraction and manifestation as part of this as well, right? Like, and then that autopilot works fantastically well as an analogy because it's like I can tell it, hey, take me in that general direction. I want to feel more of that. I already feel myself feeling more of that. So let's go there. And then hands off the wheel. And then it comes. Seemingly it comes, or you move towards it, but it's all just one big whole unfolding in this way. But what's even more beautiful is that in that absolute level, something collapses, even that discernment and that value judgment of what's up or down, what would be better, that this is more preferable than this scenario. Because that's still, you see, it sets us up for that subtle fear of getting it wrong. So how can you be in the house of God, speaking proverbially, how can you have truly come home to yourself where the promise of your birthright is eternal peace and joy and satisfaction? How can that be and coexist with even a tiny, subtle fear that you're going to be thrown out again? It cannot. That is still not it. And that feeling of that still not being it is precisely what fuels that seeking energy, which is the only thing that keeps you from recognizing that it is already it. And you are already home. And that is almost too simple. It's like, I felt grief. There was almost something that felt like this is too easy. This is a letdown. This was supposed to be more glorious, more beautifully complex than just this, than just arriving here now and recognizing that this doesn't change anything because this has always been here. It's always only ever been this. And then in the relative, there is still that joy and immersion in whatever you find beautiful about life, whatever your code is, whatever your compass of bliss will take you, that will still be unfolding and there will still be deepening, and realms after realms will open to you if you wish, if that's fun. But the drastic change in your experience is the absence of grasping. There is no longer a sense that once that happens, something will be different. It's just a different movie playing on the screen. And there's nothing wrong with zapping channels, finding the channel that entertains us, but there's a deeper knowing of ourselves as the screen on which the movie appears. And the screen carries no judgment, whether it's just pure static or the most exciting Tom Cruise movie. It just simply does not matter to the screen. It is already fulfilled and at peace. Nothing can be added onto the screen. There's no configuration of pixels that can show up on the screen as a movie that can somehow enhance the screen. The screen is and always has been and always will be the same. And there's a deep relaxation and like a homecoming to that sense of, gosh, every sense that there's somewhere else to get to, every imagined future state, whether it's materialism, right, a bigger house, a better car, or it's spiritual materialism, the next retreat, the next insight, the next big opening, the next deep healing, the next contraction released. It's all the same. It's just arising as part of this movie. And I'll share another insight that felt so significant when it appeared, that even if you were the most enlightened person, just go with me here just for the sake of argument, even if you were the most enlightened being in all of the universe, let's create an imaginary hierarchy. Okay, there's that infinite undifferentiated source, which is in its pure potential. It's the formless, it's the emptiness, not manifest. And then it manifests into all of this. And so imagine that you are the most divine being just at the very top, just before becoming infinite. But in order to come into form, you have to limit yourself. So it doesn't matter how vast, how enlightened, how pure of a white light you're still becoming limited because in order to come into form, you have to. Otherwise, you're in the infinite. Even that divine number one top dog in all of the spiritual realms and beyond, that being will still come across a boundary where it feels, hey, I could grow here. I am still not infinite. Right? And you know, we see this. I don't want to compare this to our mortal world where we have people, you know, being richest man in the world, and that's sort of kind of not still not enough because, well, we can, you know, still build bigger, right? It's just an analogy. It's not quite like that, but you can imagine just can that piece land that suffering is inherent to existence in form as a limited self, as opposed to that which we truly are, which is infinite. There will always be that jarring memory that we are truly infinite and yet we have mistaken ourselves to be this. And it doesn't matter if this is just a mere tiny human or if it's an angelic, massive divine being, that is still limited. And so the only way for the human and for the angelic being to truly know satisfaction and peace is to shift that identity from the small self that is constantly trying to improve to get somewhere else and instead to rest as that knowing of who we really are.